What I'd like to do now is introduce the talk today. I want to talk about two things really, and we'll integrate them. One is leadership, the four key pillars or qualities of all leaders all over the world. And the other topic I want to talk about is you achieving your goals, what it is that you want to get out of life to realize your desires. So we'll talk about those, we'll integrate them both together. Please feel free to, put your hands up and talk to me either during or after. But I'm sure you will all have noticed that right now, the world is in a very strange place. Very strange indeed, compared to 12 months ago. There are countries in trouble. There are so many individuals, families having a terrible time. I'm guessing you've all noticed that. Yeah, you can nod or you can put your hand up if you've noticed that. So the world is going through a turbulent time. And there's also a divide. There are people who look at what's happening in different ways. Some believe it, some don't believe it, some are for it, some are against it. So there's also a great divide out there. The reason I'm saying that is that we're going through a period of chaos. And every time the world goes through a period of chaos, then leaders emerge. You, ladies and gentlemen, are coaches, or aspiring to be coaches, or connected with a coach training organization. As coaches, you and I have a duty in times like this to be a beacon of light, to be a fire of enthusiasm that people can tap into. You and I have a duty as human beings and coaches to be leaders of our family, of our community, of our groups, and the people that are around us. And more than ever, the world is giving you and I an opportunity to shine as a leader right now. So there has never been a period like this in the world for the last 40 to 50 years. And you and I are living through it now. And this is your turn, your opportunity. This is your time to shine, to really shine. So let me ask you all a question. And if the answer is yes, just put your hand up. If you have your camera on, I can see it. But can I ask, do you all have goals? Yeah, a lot of hands going up. Do you all have goals? And I'm sure that you do. And what is a goal? A goal is something that you want to achieve. A goal is a desire. A goal is something that you are either pulling towards or it is pulling towards you. But here's an interesting question. Do you actually know what you want? You say you have a goal, but do you really, really know what you want? Because in many studies done with populations all over the world, it has been found that actually the majority of people don't know what they truly, truly want. And here's a more interesting question, and I'm going to use language, and I hope that you understand what I mean by this, but are you in vibrational balance with your desires? Now, maybe some of you know what that means, maybe some of you don't. I'm hoping that as coaches, you will recognize that language and feel comfortable with that sort of language. But I'll ask it again. Are you in vibrational balance? Are you a vibrational match to your desires or your goals? And here's the truth, the very sad truth, the terrible truth, is that most people are not. You see, most people are a vibrational match to what they don't want. They talk about what they don't want. They agonize about how things are so bad and how they wish things could be better. They wish they were healthier. They wish they had more money. They wish they had a better house. You see, here's another interesting truism. You, ladies and gentlemen, you cannot stop vibrating. You cannot stop being in a vibrational pattern. So the only question is, are you a vibrational match to what you want or what you don't want? And the truth in life is that you will always get what you believe. Now, again, let's talk about beliefs. What is a belief? Now, there are books written on this, but I'm going to give you the short version. And if you think about it, you'll find it's true. By the way, I'm deliberately not showing any slides because I want you to do what we used to do in the old days when we went to school. I want you to write. And that's a way of learning. So well done, Sarah. Well done. So what is a belief? Listen to this. A belief is only a thought you continue to think. Let me say that again. A belief is only a thought you continue to think. Now, I love that because it means you can change your beliefs by just directing your thoughts in another direction. And the more you do it, the more you do it, the more you do it, it becomes a belief. It becomes a habitual way of thinking. And when your beliefs match your desires, the universe has to make your desire come into reality. So again, a couple of quick questions. Do you have goals? Do you really know what you desire? And are you in vibrational balance to what you desire? And what are your true core beliefs? So now let's move on to leadership. What is a leader? Before I did this talk, 2 days ago, I just did a little bit of research to make sure my figures were up to date. And on Amazon, there are over 1,000 books on leadership right now. And many of them contradict each other. There are over 300 definitions of leadership. Then some companies talk about strategic leaders. Some companies talk about thought leaders. Some companies talk about tactical leaders. And because there are so many definitions, the truth is most people don't really know what a leader is. So let me give you today 4 qualities that all great leaders have. But before I do that, let me just give you a couple of pointers. Do any of you ever look at people's LinkedIn profiles? Come on, be honest. Do you? You see what people write about themselves on LinkedIn? Yeah. It confuses me and it amuses me sometimes because here's something important. Leadership is not a title. It's a role. Now, a role, so a title is something like Chief Financial Officer, CEO, Managing Director, Head of IT, or that's a title. You apply for a job, you get a job, it comes with a title. Leadership is not a title, it's a role. It's something you do, it's who you are. Therefore, it always amuses me when people call themselves a leader. You see, true leaders never ever call themselves a leader. So when you see on LinkedIn people saying, one of America's great thought leaders, or you think, whoa, that's not a leader. That's an ego position coming out. Pure ego flowing out through the airwaves. So I just share that with you. Leadership is a role. It's who you are. It's what you do. It oozes out of you. Never call yourself a leader. That is something that other people should hopefully call you, but don't ever call yourself. So let's talk now about the 4 qualities that all great leaders have. And when I talk about leaders, I'm talking about every part of life, now and in the past. We'll talk about some in a minute. Military, political leaders, religious leaders, commercial leaders, all of these areas of our life. So what do they all have? Well, they have 4 things. Number 1, vision. Number 2, communication. Now, I will go into these in more detail. Number 3, trust. Number 4, willingness to learn. So vision, communication, trust, willingness to learn. Now let's go back and go through these in more detail. Great leaders, and I'm going to talk now about great leaders, have a believable and an attractive vision. So they have a believable and attractive. That's why people follow them. Next, they are able to communicate the vision and make progress towards achieving it. So I'm repeating this deliberately to give you time to write things down. They are able to communicate the vision and make progress towards achieving it. Next, they are worthy of others' trust. They are worthy of others' trust. And finally, they are willing to renew, to learn, and to improve. They are very willing to renew, to learn, and to improve. So let's now go into those four again and see if we can pick up some real people in life. And please, I'm happy for you to shout out, unmute yourself, shout out names if you can. But let's look at the first, a believable and an attractive vision. So who could, well, one name that comes to mind, I'm trying to pick people everyone would know, would be Mother Teresa. Have we all heard of Mother Teresa? Yeah. You know, a magnificent lady. When she died, she had no possessions. She had no money. She owned almost nothing. But my goodness, she had a believable and an attractive vision, a vision of helping poor, starving children in Calcutta. And because of that, she attracted people to her from all over the world who followed her. You've got people like Mahatma Gandhi. Again, I'm assuming everyone knows these names. Again, a believable and attractive. Even people like Napoleon, the great leader. Doesn't matter if you think he's good or bad. That doesn't matter. You know, people flocked to him because he was able to articulate his vision in such a way that half of Europe flocked around him at one point. Alexander the Great, going back many, many centuries. Does anyone else come up with any other names of people who had a believable and an attractive vision?
Martin Luther King.
Oh my God, yes, of course, Martin Luther King. And you know, no matter, even young children today learn about him in school. And he has these famous phrase, you know the phrase, I had a dream.
Yes.
I have a dream. He made that phrase, I have a dream. You know, those 4 words, he made them famous. They rocketed all around the world, and we didn't have social media then. Number 2, the ability to communicate the vision and make progress towards achieving it. So great leaders have the ability to communicate. Even if you look at, you know, some people who were on the dark side, and I'm deliberately mentioning, you know, these are people that we don't look up to, but the Hitlers and all of these bad people, if you heard those speak, they were able to communicate in almost a hypnotic way. So I'll give you 2 great examples. In ancient Rome and in ancient Greece, there were 2 great men. In Rome, there was a great man called Cicero. In Greece, there was a man called Demosthenes. And these were the great speakers of their time. And they didn't have television then, or cinemas, or social media. So when these men would speak at the Forum or in the Parthenon, word would go out a week before to all the villages within about 30 miles, 40 kilometers. And they would nail notices on the trees and say, this man is speaking in the Parthenon, or he's speaking in the Forum. And men and women would travel for miles on foot and on donkey to listen to these people speak. And if you read the history books, it was said of Cicero that when he spoke, men would stand in awe. So when he spoke, people were in awe. They couldn't believe it. It was just incredible. So men would stand in awe. However, when Demosthenes spoke, it was said, men would say, let us march. And there's a big difference. When he spoke, men were willing to lay down their lives. They were willing to go to war and die right at that moment. So Cicero was good. People loved his talks, and they would go and have a beer afterwards and talk about it and say, boy, wasn't that good. When Demosthenes spoke, men would say, let us march. It takes it to a level even higher. The great communicators of old, who have a vision and can share it in order to inspire their people. And we'll come back to that word, inspire. Next, being worthy of others' trust. Great leaders, they have the trust of their people. And whenever you talk to people who met some of these great leaders and you read their diaries from old, they all say the same thing. They all say, when I was with that woman, when I was with that man, when I was in their company, they made me feel special. And they also say, when I was with that person, you know, they listened to me. So leaders build trust by listening to their people, not constantly dictating, but listening. And one of the greatest gifts you can give another human being, ladies and gentlemen, one of the greatest things you can do to another man or woman is to sit quietly with them and listen. And in coaching, we have a concept, the concept of presence, of simply being there for them. Sometimes as a coach, especially if you're new, if you're young, if you're training, you don't always know what to say. And you panic. You're saying, oh my God, I've got to say something incredibly intelligent here. I've got to ask some marvelous question. And you know, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you simply have to be there for that person and listen with your mind, but listen with your heart. This is how you build trust. And lastly, leaders have the willingness to review, to learn, and to improve. They're willing to grow. They're not stuck in their groove, not stuck in their old way of thinking, you know. I'm reminded of, I read the biography of Abraham Lincoln years ago, and I've read other books about him by other people. And he was incredibly poor, you know, so poor when they grew up. He grew up in a log cabin. And when he was a young boy and a teenager and becoming a young man, there were times they didn't have money for food. And sometimes he would go and he would do laboring work and he would make a little bit of money. And do you know what he bought with his money? Books. Books. That's what he spent every penny he could possibly afford on books. And you see, I want to share this with you. It's something I've been saying for years. Leaders are readers. Leaders are writers. When these men and women become famous, what do they all end up having? We find out after they die, usually, but they all had a library. Almost every great leader built up a library. Here's the thing. Imagine someone, a man or a woman, goes through a most incredible experience in their life. They do something incredible. And it takes them 5 years. For 5 years, they do something and they struggle and they work and they achieve something. And they write a book. And you and I, we can read that book in 5 days. Imagine, we can take the knowledge that they took 5 years of hardship to learn, we can take that on board within a short period of time. Leaders are readers. Leaders are also writers. We learn after they die that almost every great leader kept diaries. And I don't mean diaries of their appointments. I mean, not calendars. These are proper diaries of their thoughts, their dreams, their desires, their feelings, what they're going to do, the problems they've got. They commit it all to paper. So leaders are readers and leaders are writers. So these are the 4 great pillars, or qualities rather, that all great leaders have. Now, if you want to be a leader, it implies that there are people following. Let's look at businesses. Many of you here today want to build a business, or you already are running a business. A business is simply people. It's simply people working together. And if you want to attract great people, then you have to exude a greatness yourself. The world is like a magnet. Like attracts like. You've all heard a phrase or similar phrase, birds of a feather flock together. Have you all heard that type of phrase? People of like mind flock together. Yeah, because it supports their own beliefs, their own thinking, whether they're right or wrong, doesn't matter. But whatever their beliefs are, they like to mix with other people of similar beliefs. Here's an interesting fact for you. Did you know that your income, whatever it is, will be the average of the 5 main people you hang around with? I don't mean your mother and your father. I don't mean your brother. I mean the 5 people outside your family that you hang around with most of the time. It's been shown again and again. So you've got to ask yourself, who are you hanging around with? Because the people you mix with will influence you. Next, as a leader or someone running a business, now I'm sort of switching tack, and I'm talking about if you are a leader running a business. And as a coach, if you are a coach, and I know that most of you here I've met, and I can't wait to see you all again when the world goes back to normal, but you are running a business, whether it's a one-man business, one-woman business, you are. Here's the thing, you must, and I know in coaching we never give a direct order, we never say must, but I'm saying it now. You must have a unique and compelling proposition. I'll say that again. As a business owner, you must have a unique and a compelling proposition. Let me give you 2 very clear examples. These are big multinational companies. You may or may not know who they are, but here's the compelling proposition of one company. It's quite a long one. It's 3 little sentences. Hot, fresh pizza delivered to your door in 30 minutes or your money back. I'll say that again. Hot, fresh pizza delivered to your door in 30 minutes or your money back. Does anyone know what company that is? You can shout it out if you want. If you unmute yourself and shout it out.
Pizza Hut.
Pizza Hut.
Which one?
Pizza Hut.
No, it's not Pizza Hut. It's like that. It's Domino's. Have you heard of Domino's?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Now, Pizza Hut were bigger. Pizza Express were bigger. These were the 2 leaders in the world. Along came Domino's. They've been going for 30 to 40 years each. Along came Domino's, and in no time at all, they rose up to #1 position. And it was because of their compelling proposition. Now, think about it. Do they mention price?
No.
And are Domino's the cheapest? Oh, no, absolutely not. Do they mention quality?
No.
No. And again, I don't eat that much pizza, but they're not the best quality either. But they don't talk about that. They say hot, fresh pizza. Now that conjures up in your mind an instant picture. Delivered to your door in 30 minutes. It's so clear. Or your money back. I mean, that is a very clear, powerful message. That is their compelling proposition. And it took them from nothing to #1. Multi-billion-dollar company in a short time. Here's another one. When it absolutely, positively has to be there overnight. When it absolutely, positively has to be there overnight. Anyone know what company that is?
DHL?
No, it's like DHL.
UPS.
No, not UPS. Begins with F.
FedEx.
FedEx.
FedEx. Now, so here's the thing. Are FedEx the cheapest courier company? Oh my goodness, no. No.
No, not at all.
Not at all, not at all. But here's the thing. Look at the compelling proposition. When it absolutely, positively has to be there overnight. So if you run a company in Beirut and you have an office in San Francisco and they need desperately an engineering part for a machine, who do you know will absolutely get it there by the morning? FedEx. Suddenly the price isn't always an issue. And if you go to them and you say, but hold on, I have a parcel that's this size, it's huge, it's 20 meters by 20 meters. Will you take that? The answer is yes. Oh, but what if it weighs 1,000 pounds in weight? The answer is yes. But what if you have to get it to Alaska or you have to get it to Beijing by the morning? The answer is yes. It doesn't matter what it is, how big it is, how heavy it is. They will absolutely guarantee to get it there overnight. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a compelling proposition. When I talk to coaches or business owners, and I always say, so tell me, what's your proposition to your customers? They tell me what they do. They say, oh, I'm a web designer. Oh, I'm a carpenter. I'm a life coach. I'm an executive coach. Oh, I'm a management consultant. That's what they do. There is nothing compelling about that. Leaders have compelling propositions. So I'll put that down and we'll move on. In life, you and I, with email and the digital world we live in and social media, I'm guessing many of you are like me and you get bombarded every day by social media message, WhatsApp messages, Telegram messages, LinkedIn, Facebook. Then you get your emails and it just becomes overwhelming. Does anyone ever feel like that? Or is it just me? No? Just me then. Okay, right. Okay, well, I learned something many, many years ago. And I learned it from one of my first mentors years ago, Jim Rohn. And then it was all repeated by another mentor I had, Brian Tracy. Great men. And they taught me to the trivial few against the vital few against the trivial many. So the vital few against the trivial many. Most of the stuff that will come at you is trivial and really doesn't need to be dealt with at all. And a true leader understands what are the vital few things to focus on instead of the trivial many. And it's a skill that successful people have. So next, lead by example. And we're coming to the end now. I'll finish off in the next 5 minutes. Lead by example. I want you to be a true, living, breathing example of the person you would like to be, the person you would like to follow. And if you fall in love with yourself, and I mean that in a proper way, I don't mean standing in the mirror and looking at your hair, and that's narcissism, that's different to self-love. Self-love, the better word, and you've all heard it, people say you should love yourself. The better word for people to understand is acceptance and compassion. You show huge acceptance for who you are, and you have compassion for who you are. All of your faults, all of your weird things, you know, that's what makes you wonderful and unique. So love yourself, have acceptance and compassion. And finally, you should be on receive more often than you are on transmit. You know, 2 ears, 1 mouth. You've heard this 100 times. Spend your time listening to others, not trying to tell them what you think. It's much more powerful. And I'd like to finish with something that I wrote a few years ago. And if you'll allow me, it's called The 4 Ifs That Make Life Worthwhile. The 4 ifs that make life worthwhile. And this is, by the way, is my thinking. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. It's how I view the world. So just take what you feel is appropriate from it. Number 1, life is worthwhile if you learn. You've got to learn. You've got to, you see, in life, what you don't know will hurt you. You have to learn constantly, learn new methods, learn techniques, learn new skills, learn new ways of communicating and being and doing. Life is worthwhile if you learn. And remember I said about the great leaders being readers. Yeah. Join a library. Books are free. You don't have to pay. So life is worthwhile if you learn. Next, life is worthwhile if you try. You've got to try. You know, how will you ever know if you're going to succeed at anything? You've got to give it a go. You've got to see if you can do it. Even if you fail, even if you try something and you say, you know, I didn't like that. I did that with bungee jumping once. I did it and I thought, no, I don't like that. I won't do that again. Yep, didn't like it. I then tried parachuting and I loved that. Didn't like bungee jumping, like parachuting. I won't be doing bungee jumping ever again. So, but you gotta try. How will you know? You know, you look at the little kids at school when they have their sports days and they set up a little obstacle course. Did you ever watch those? When my 3 children were very young, I'd go to their sports days and they always roped in the parents to do some sort of a race as well. I hated that. But you'd watch the little kids and the excitement on their face and the concentration when they'd be trying to go through the little high jumps and the little obstacle courses, and they just give it 100%. So we've got to be like that. Life is worthwhile if you try. You've got to put some effort in, and if you try something and you don't like it, that's okay. You don't have to do it again, but you've tried. Next, life is worthwhile if you stay. You see, life is like a year, the seasons, spring, summer, autumn, winter. Farmers know this. You plant in the spring. You plant all of your crops in the spring. You lay down your seeds. You harvest in what we call autumn, or the Americans call the fall. But in between, you get the boiling hot days of summer, the drought, the time. And life is like that. You plant seeds and the universe will always test you by putting you through the hot days of summer, the long days, before you get to the time when you can harvest. But many people in life are constantly planting seeds and then moving on. They never get to the time of harvest. I'll give you a good example of this. A lady, you may have heard of her, called Margaret Thatcher. She was the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Now, I don't want to talk about her politics, whether you like them or not, but there's something that has always impressed me about her. She was the first woman Prime Minister ever in the United Kingdom, ever. When she became a minister of the Parliament, there weren't even toilets for women in the House of Commons. No toilets for women. It was such a male-dominated place. And she achieved magnificence in being a prime minister. The fact that she got there. I'm not talking about her politics. But something drove her. When she was 14 years of age, her father said something to her. He was a grocer shop owner. He owned a grocer shop. And he was a very lovely man. And he sat her down one day and he said, Margaret, I don't know what you want to do in life. And you can, I believe in you, I'll support you in anything. But he said, here's the thing. In life, everyone starts things. They start going to the gym. They start a course at college. They start some learning project. They start a little business. He said, and most people never finish. He said, it's easy to be a starter in life. And then he said, Margaret, my advice to you is don't be a starter, be a finisher. And that stuck with her all of her life, to be a finisher. So my point, life is worthwhile if you stay. You've got to start a project and then see it through to the end, no matter what it takes. And finally, life is worthwhile if you care. You've got to care. You've got to care for what you do. You know, if you care enough, if you care some, you'll get some results. If you care enough, you will get incredible results. Care to make a difference. Care enough to turn somebody around. Care enough to help someone else on the road to success. Care enough to start a new enterprise. Care enough to change it all. Care enough to be the highest producer. Care enough to set some records. Care enough to win. Care enough to make a positive change in the world. So life is worthwhile if you care. So there's my 4 ifs that make life worthwhile. Life is worthwhile if you learn, if you try, if you stay, and if you care. 4 powerful little words that can change your life immensely. I think I've run over time. I'm sorry.
No, you still have time. You can continue.
So I'll stop now and see if there's any questions or anyone would like me to expand on anything.
Any questions?
Yes, actually. Hello, everyone. Okay, Gerard, I wanted to ask you, you said something before leading by example. You said the vital few against, I couldn't get, it was cutting off.
No, good. The trivial many, the vital few against the trivial many.
And what do you mean by that?
Well, most of the things that take our attention, email, social media, Facebook, WhatsApp, whatever, they might be interesting, but in the great scheme of things, they are trivial. They are not going to get you or your family where you want them to go. But they will eat into your time, they will eat into your mind, they will eat into your emotions. And they have the ability to emotionally throw you off track. So it's important to learn what is important to focus on and what is just interesting, but really of no great importance.
Oh, thank you.
We have a question. How can we tell when we are planting seeds in the right place? From Rabia.
Oh. That's to do with your vibrational well-being and your emotions. So if you imagine that a doctor will use a thermometer to take the temperature of a patient, see how the patient is. Our emotions are our internal compass. And they tell us if we are pointing in the right direction or not. So you've got the 3, in religion, I'm not going to get into religion, but all religions talk about the 3 things, thoughts, feelings, and emotions. You have to have a thought first of all. The thought creates the feeling, and the feeling generates an emotion. Emotion, energy in motion, energy in motion. So our emotions are like our internal compass. If you start something or you focus your attention on something and it gives you great joy, then that is an absolute tick to say you're heading in the right direction. So always be guided by your emotions. Okay.
I have another. Do leaders know they are leaders? How do they feel about that?
Oh God, no. No, they don't always. Leaders focus, here's the thing. Leaders focus on delivering value to others in whatever that is, whether it's a product, whether it's a service, whether it's a, but they're making a product that other people like and find useful and use, or they're offering a service that other people find useful and like and use. But the leader focuses on creating something that will give value or benefit to others. They never lie awake at night thinking, what can I do to become a better leader? Or what can I do to make people think I'm a leader? And if they do, then that's their ego getting in the way.
Yeah, that's not leadership. Questions? We still have time.
Okay. Any other final questions, ladies and gentlemen?
Yeah, can I ask one more question?
Of course, Sarah, of course.
Oh, thank you. And because I joined in a little bit late, I'm really sorry for that. But when I joined, you were talking about the emotional balance.
Yes.
All right. And
I was saying that, do we know what we really want in life? Do we have goals? And most people say yes. Then I say, do you really know what you want? And most people say yes, but the answer is not yes. Most people don't, because most people actually spend the majority of their time focusing on the things they don't like in their life.
yeah, true.
And you and I, and this is such an important lesson, we are always vibrating. You cannot stop vibrating. And are you a vibrational match to your desires? And the answer is usually no. Usually it's you are a vibrational match to what you're thinking, and what you're thinking is what you don't want in your life. You're thinking about the things you lack. Oh, I wish I looked better. I wish I lost weight. I wish I had more money. I wish things weren't so bad. I wish I didn't argue with my partner. I wish. And if you are in vibrational balance to what you don't want, that you will get more of that. So it's understanding absolutely what you want, what you believe, and making sure you are a vibrational match for that. And your emotions will be your guide.
Yeah, I was reading something. It's about if you want to do something, whatever you want to do, you have to find the match or what is common between what you really like and what you are good at, and what would be beneficial to the people around you and to your community and to your country and whatever. And the last thing we have to think of is how would it generate money?
Okay.
So once you find the balance between, or what is common between these four aspects, this is what would give you the balance that we need.
It will. And the money will always come if you're delivering value. And here's another little gift in life. People want to receive, of course. They want to get money. They want to have a nice house. They want to have health and so on. But actually, you and I as human beings, we're programmed. We get more joy out of giving than we do on receiving. We get, and if you just think of times at Christmas, at people's birthdays, you know, when you give someone a gift and you see that they really love it, that it sends like an electric shock through you of joy. You think, wow, you know, they appreciate the gift I gave them. And you feel more joy in that than if someone gives you a lovely gift, which you appreciate. So by finding what gives you joy in helping others, the money, how can I put this? The universe has to reward you.
Yeah.
We have a question from Rawia.
Okay.
And then a couple.
Then finish.
Hello, Gerard. How are you?
I am great. It's lovely to see you. It's been such a long time since I've seen you properly.
It has been. It feels like a decade.
I know.
Thank you very much for the wonderful talk, as always. I have a question that's very pertinent to the current times. I think all of us who are working in corporations now, we keep hearing how leadership is changing. Let me rephrase this. How the pandemic has changed what leadership is about. So in light of what we just discussed, and the fact that you really keep up on your reading, how do you feel that leadership skills have evolved in the last year?
Badly. Very, very badly. All over the world, we are suffering from a huge lack of real leaders and leadership. You see, the job of our, and when I say our leaders, I guess I'm talking about our government all over the world. The job of a government is to look after and take care of its people, and to give them hope, and to give them. There's one thing I didn't mention earlier. I'll mention it now in my talk. There's a great difference between motivation and inspiration. We as leaders, you as leaders want to motivate your people, and that's good, but actually you don't. What you really want to do is to inspire your people. Inspire. You see, what is motivation? You know, if any of you have ever gone to the gym, you look at yourself in the mirror and you're saying, oh God, I need to lose a few pounds, or I need to change my shape. So you sign up for the gym and you go there 2 or 3 or 4 times a week. Sometimes you don't feel like going, but you motivate yourself to do it. Has anyone ever been in that position? They don't want to do something, but you motivate yourself to do it. Anyone? Hands up? Yeah. Okay. So inspiration is completely different. When you are filled with inspiration to do something, there's never a thought of not doing it. You are inspired. It's almost like in entheos, where the word enthusiasm comes from. Entheos, ancient Greek, it means God within. So when you are inspired, you have almost like a godlike within. And you never have to force yourself. You're drawn to do something like a magnet. Our governments, our leaders, need to be the type of people that inspire us and fill us with that glowing light of inspiration. And unfortunately, many of them are peddling fear right now instead of inspiration. And they're very good at peddling fear. And they're controlling people using fear instead of motivating people to do something through inspiration. And I don't want to get political on this call, but hopefully
No, I think also the same applies in the corporate world, because at this point, if any employee is not happy with his work, they tell him, consider yourself lucky to have a job. Right? So even that, I mean, forget about the politics. If you go into the corporate world, whether you like your job or you don't like it, whether you're getting what you're worth or not, they tell you don't like it, leave. You're not going to find another job. So so peddling fear is also cascading to other aspects of life.
It is, unfortunately. But here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, this will also pass. Yes. This is like a season of life. And I promise you, and look into my eyes, I'm looking at you directly, this will pass and the world will get better and it will become so much better. It will just take a time. We are going through a season, the winter right now. It's a long winter. And it will.
Game of Thrones winter, yes.
Spring and summer will come.
Gerard, we have a question from Rania's daughter. She says, the second trait of a good leader is how he delivers his vision and value. And her question is, any advice on how to be good at doing that?
Absolutely. Study. Learn how to communicate. Learn how to say it well. Learn how to speak. Learn how to articulate your thoughts. And there are so many great books you can get. There are online courses. It doesn't have to cost any money. There are free things. And study. Pick people that are good examples of this. Listen to them. So yes, engage in the process of getting better.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Thank you. And thank you for your time today. I appreciate it.
We have a couple of questions. Can you stay? Yeah. Okay. From Abir, she says, do you think that leadership is a skill that can be learned, or it's rather a natural ability?
I personally believe it can be learned.
Okay. Lama, you had a question?
No, I just raised my hand because Gerard asked who can relate.
Okay.
Great.
Any questions, last questions before we close this amazing inspirational talk? Any questions? I'm going to share with you the link for tomorrow.